Some students had to ask the question, how realistic is it for us to land that job right out of this program? And I know the course is focused on product management, product innovation, and how realistic was it to get a job like that? Well, I think anything's possible. We just have to provide you with the tools and the network in order for that to happen for you. So sit back and enjoy today's session. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Lindsay Diamond.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'm really excited for today's event. So my name is Lindsay Diamond, and I work for the Alumni Association here at Mohawk. I am super excited that we have 4 amazing grads who have come back and are going to share their story with us. A little bit about Alumni. So we're your association once you complete your schooling here at Mohawk. So we offer lots of great stuff such as career development workshops and webinars, discounts, networking events, reunions, just lots of different things to keep you connected to the college, to your peers, as well as help build your network with alumni in general. So just to go over a little bit of housekeeping today. So we have the chat function going. At any time, you can ask a question in the chat. If you need someone to speed up, slow down, like any of that stuff, please use the chat. As well as if you have any questions and you feel comfortable, please unmute yourself and jump right in. We want it to be as informal, I guess, as possible. If you're not speaking, I'm going to ask if you can keep your mic muted just to cut down on the background noise. And like you've noticed, we are recording this event so that you'll be able to go back and reference all the material that we're talking about. Just a couple of networking kind of tips. I would recommend that everyone, anytime you're using Zoom, if you go in and change your name to your full first and last name, this will help people get to know you. It's a little bit harder because you're not face to face. So that's one key thing that you can do, is just make sure that you have your name, your full first and last name on your Zoom page there. I have enabled it, so if you want, you can go in and change that right now. If you hover over your picture, the 3 little dots at the top, you can change your name from in there. Another good thing, if you have the opportunity, if you take a nice professional headshot and you upload that as your picture, so if your camera's not on, then at least your face is still shown. And then also just another kind of quick tip, this is a very open space here. So if you feel comfortable and your bandwidth will allow, I recommend that you turn your camera on. Get used to having your camera on, sitting in front of it, listening. This will really help once you really get into a networking atmosphere, as well as interviews, right? Interviews are going to be probably, at least the first one will probably be over like a Zoom type setting. So this is great practice to kind of just get used to sitting in front of a camera. So we hope you really enjoy today. If you have any questions, like I said, use the chat. If you feel comfortable, turn your camera and your mic on and kind of jump in and ask questions as they come up. We have saved time at the end for kind of a more formal Q&A, but as they come up, yeah, just jump in. So I'm going to turn it back over to Tracy to take us away.
All right, thanks very much, Lindsay, for that, and some great tips. I just wanted to reiterate that this opportunity is made possible through the support of the Mohawk College Alumni Association, and they have sponsored 2 more workshops. One is the networking workshop that will be coming up, as well as the etiquette workshop. And those are, I gotta tell you, I've been to all of them. They're fabulous. So you'll want to make sure that you're registered for all of that as well. Next slide, Lindsay. So just to go through the agenda for today, we will be, Linz, can you advance the next slide for me? There we go. So we've had our opening remarks, and I just wanted to say again, after the, we're going to be introducing our panelists, and after that, it'll be open for questions as well. But I'll be asking some questions, I guess, and I've got a whole list already because sometimes I think I want to know everything. But anyways, we've got a whole list of questions for you, and hopefully that answer some of your questions, but if they don't, then feel free. This is just an open conversation, a wonderful opportunity for you to get to know the grads and to network as well. So anyways, I want to introduce our first speaker, our panelists, and we're actually going to go for the panelists, we'll go in order. So as I do the slides, when we do the questions, if we don't mind, what we'll do is we'll go to Ashley first, and then we'll continue on to Chrislyn, and then Audie, and then Louise, depending on how I've done the slide. So let me see, I've got Ashley first, Chrislyn first, second, and Louise, and then we've got Audie last. Okay, so Ashley, he is currently the president of Mohawk College Students Association. And that's kind of a big deal because he is in charge of ensuring that our students are well cared for and represented by a student government. And he formerly was a vice president on the MSA, and that was last year. And then he decided to take the leap and apply to be the president of the Mohawk College Student Association. His education is, he's a graduate from the Global Business Management program, and he also has a Bachelor of Administration as well. So he comes to us ready, set, go for his role in the MSA. And previous employment, he worked for Amazon in India, and he's also worked for Walmart here in Canada. So everybody, I'd like to introduce you to, and I think you like to go by Ashley, is that correct?
Yep, sure.
Wonderful. Okay, next slide. Chrislyn Mercantor. Chrislyn is a recent graduate of the Supply Chain Management program. She is also a graduate from the International Business Management program. She recently, very recently, almost I think it was last week or the week before, received the award for, it's the Hamilton Ottawa Port Authority Port Scholarship. And that is awarded to 2 students each year. And it is an award that comes with great honor. And the Hamilton Ottawa Port Authority is one of our big sponsors of our supply chain management program. So congratulations, Chrislyn, on that. She also, as I mentioned, has an international business management grad certificate as well. But previous to that, back in her home country in the Philippines, she is a graduate of the Bachelor of Science of Business Administration. And some of her jobs include, you've worked for Global Solutions, which I understand was a leisure rental or leasing company back in Milan, and you also worked as an accounting assistant. And right now she's working for Red Berry, which is a restaurant company in, is it Burlington, Chrislyn? Yes, okay, wonderful, well, welcome. All right, next slide. So we've got Louise Grima, and Louise, he comes to us from, is it Brazil? I want to make sure that that is correct. Yes. All right. And he currently is a project manager working here in Canada for Ultimate Fire Protection. His education includes the business analysis graduate certificate, and that is an excellent program. Those students are likely to get, they're getting jobs right out of the program even before they graduate in most cases. And he's also a graduate from the Supply Chain Management grad certificate program. And he also holds an MBA. So very well educated. His previous employment includes, he was a management consultant for a company in Brazil. And he also worked part-time at Mohawk as a research assistant. So Louise, welcome. Next slide. So Audie Pablo. Did I say that right? Audie Pablo, right? Do you go by Audie?
Yeah, Audie's fine.
Audie's fine, okay.
Yeah, Audie's fine.
Yes, okay. So when I was reading Audie's LinkedIn profile, I was so surprised because he really has quite the supply chain background already, even though he had graduated from supply chain. So he had done supply chain previous to Mohawk. Is that correct, Audie?
No, actually, Mohawk was my first ever experience with supply chain.
Okay. All right. So he is an international operations coordinator for Main Freight. And he has also a graduate from the business analysis program here at Mohawk and supply chain management as well. So that seems to be like a nice pairing. And you also have a Bachelor of Business Administration. And previous employment include the overnight freight analysis with Home Depot and ocean imports data operations with Expeditors. And Expeditors, I think, is a huge supporter of Mohawk College. And I think they probably have been connecting with the coordinator, Carol Fleck. And so I know there were opportunities there for students with Expeditors. So Audie, welcome. So that's our esteemed panelists for today, graduates of Mohawk College, proud graduates, and so willing to help us out today. So I'm going to now ask Lindsay to stop sharing the screen and we'll begin the panel. All right. So starting with Ashi, we'll start with what brought you to Canada and why did you choose Mohawk College?
So hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity, Tracy and Lindsay, and thank you all the students. I know you're sitting in different time zones and I appreciate it. So what brought me to Canada was, I wanted to be more self-independent and, want to explore the area which I've already studied back in India. So that's what brought me to Canada, and, I enjoyed every bit of it. It was a whole new experience for me.
Wonderful. Crystal, what brought you to Canada?
It was nice meeting all of you today. So what brought me to Canada is I want to pursue a career advancement. So I'm actually on when I was in the Philippines, I feel like I'm on a quarter life crisis. I know you all experienced that. So I wanna change. I wanna know what I really want to do in life or what my purpose in life is. So I thought of Canada because I have a relative here. So they encouraged me to pursue studies here and abroad here in Canada. And luckily, I got approved as an international student.
Wonderful. Thanks, Crystal. Louise.
Yeah, sure. So what brought me to Canada? I came here to study, really to study. I needed to improve my curriculum. And I really wanted to experience life abroad as I was working in a global environment. And I needed that for my curriculum. And for sure to bring that experience to my family too. I really thought about my family, my kid. I have 12 years old daughter, and I really wanted that for her to experience life abroad.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Audie.
So Canada has always been at the back of my mind ever since my mom and dad really wanted to come to Canada. It was, I believe in 10th grade that they were like, you have to go to Canada after you finish your 10th standard or 12th standard. And I was like, okay, cool. That 10th standard didn't work out. 12th, I got the opportunity to come to Canada, but then I dropped the ball last minute because I felt like I didn't want to make the move so fast. But right after that, after graduating my bachelor's, I decided like, hey, it's time for a change. I need to think about my future. And that's when the level of maturity increases and you want that independence. So I decided, hey, I need to leave my home country, come to Canada, make a better life for myself. And that way in turn, make my family lives better. That was pretty much the motivation behind coming to Canada. Also, for my career perspective, I have a background in finance, but I felt like I needed to be somewhere else. Like that wasn't something I wanted to do with my life. So supply chain and business analysis gave me kind of perfect fit.
Great. Thank you for that. The students here that are joining us started their program in May. Many of them coming to Canada for the first time. Some of them are still at home studying. Some of them are still at home waiting for visas. So tell us about your experience when you studied here at Mohawk College. What was it like for you? Let's start off with Ashi.
So I'd say first, the professors faculties and staff are so, helpful. They're always ready to help you all the time. So I was fortunate to study my first 2 semesters back in college in person. And after that, it was all virtual, but they got your back, trust me. Because every time when you need something, they're just email right away. Like you email them, they get back to you. It was a really good experience for me. It was a great learning for me. And even though I was a graduate back in my country, there were a lot of things which I didn't know. And that really helped me throughout my career. So yeah, that's it.
Wonderful. Thanks. Chrislyn.
So my experience in studying at Mohawk College is very fun. So I arrived here pre-COVID, so everything is free, you know, and yeah, it was really fun. In Mohawk College, there is diversity. You can see people from all over the world. Also, our professors are like diverse. They are from different countries as well. So you really learn a lot, and the way of teaching is very exciting, with the simulations, and they're sharing their expertise from every subject matter, and also the faculty and the different organizations in the college, the MSA. They have really they have many events which you can join, and yeah, you can like balance your um, academic and social life in Maha College.
And Louise.
Yeah, I think I was very lucky, and Adi will agree with me. We didn't have to study at Mohawk during the pandemic, so we were able to meet people and to be on the corridors and to feel the college um, until the end of the business analysis program, where we moved to online. So we had a little bit of what was studying at COVID, but what I could say about my experience there, it's very dynamic. Um, and you have so many perspectives from the international students, from the Canadian students, um, because you can see people from every kind of background, from the people that are just starting. And I've seen that on Adi. He was just starting, and he grown so much into that. People that had the same experience or more experience that I did than I did, and with more education. So we had all those senior guys that were studying together with the junior guys, and all together. So it was very dynamic and very comprehensive, and the support that Mohawk gave was awesome on that part. So they embraced everyone. That was my experience.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And Audie, do you want to pick up on that? Because I know you were.
Oh, of course, of course. Mohawk by far was the best experience I've had. Truly blessed to come here before COVID, doing the supply chain program, business analysis. Um, you learn a lot, no matter where you come from. You mingle with different people from different backgrounds. You understand where they come from, what kind of mindset they have. You in turn start changing your thought process, your mindset. It all evolves over a period of time. And like at Mohawk, the extracurricular activities were insane. Like we used to have like get-togethers at MSA, and like we have a bar in the campus. Like who has that? So we all used to go out there, have a couple of drinks. We used to come back, do our studies in groups. We have a lot of space for that around the campus. The professors were really helpful. Even sports, like I used to play basketball like almost every single day until COVID hit, and that's when it all went south. But it was a really good experience. I think if everyone was here and they got the opportunity to come here, they would really find that Mohawk College is really the place to be.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Yes, the many activities that were on campus, but you know what? There are a lot of virtual campus activities that are going on right now. And I usually get a lot of notices about those. And so what I'm going to do is in my weekly kind of announcements to the class, I will let you know so that you can feel connected as well. Because sometimes you get inundated with a lot of little emails. And what I'll do is I'll try to put all of those events, and I'll definitely connect with Ashley about that as well afterwards. And we'll set you up. Even I think MSA has a whole website where students can connect in and create a profile. And after that profile has been created, then events will start coming to you about what's going on. And maybe we can have Ashley talk about that just a little bit. Because student engagement, you know what? We want you to be engaged because that's how you're going to meet people and you're going to feel part of the community. So Ashley, if you want to talk about that a little bit more with MSA, because I know a few students, even Kristen, talked about the MSA and Audie. So way you go, Ashley.
For sure, my pleasure. So MSA is a Mohawk Students Association, and basically I work for you guys. So anything, any help, please reach out. So we have a lot of events going on virtually, which you all can be a part of. For the time being, I was just, trying to drop in the website for you guys to explore. So here we go.
Yes, you're going to add it to the chat. I see that you're going to do that. There you go. You can click on.
There you go. So we have a lot of events. We have a lot of services for students, like the Empower Me program for the mental health and everything. So events is a very fun opportunity for you to get involved with the MSA. And yeah, I hope to see everyone, for the events, and it's all virtual. So you guys are lucky. We didn't have that before. So yeah, hope to see everyone. Yeah.
That would be great. And there are opportunities, like if you plan to stay on for a second year, there are opportunities for you actually to join the MSA as well, whether it be committee work, whether it be a member of the council or the association. And certainly if you're interested in that, then I would strongly recommend that you reach out to MSA. And because there's no better program that I would say that I have experienced as a former MSA president, where you're being mentored and developed, and you're networking with not only college, administration and students, but you're also networking on the outside as well, which is really nice, and working with other student groups across the province. So click on that link. I tell you, it's a good one. All right. Thank you very much for adding that in. We're going to move over to looking at joint programs, because I know a lot of students have come for the 1 year, and I know with the work visas, how they're set up. So it's 1 year. I understand it's 1 year of work. And if you join another program and graduate from another program, then you actually have a visa for 3 years. So I want to start with, Ashley, I know that you just did the one program yourself. So I'm going to step away from that. I'm going to ask Chrislyn to talk about why did you make the decision to go to another program, and why did you choose the supply chain program?
Okay, so initially I took the IBM program, which you guys are taking right now. And then they advised me to take another program that's like what Tracy said, to be able to get a longer work permit validity, right? So I decided to take supply chain management program because as Carol, Carol is the program coordinator of supply chain program. So when I was in IBM program, she visited our one of our classes, and she introduced us the supply chain management program. So I got interested with that because in this industry, you will know like what's going on in the business, like from the production, operations, and transportation of goods from one to another. It's basically you will understand what's going on in the business industry, and supply chain is relevant everywhere, whether there is pandemic or not. It's relevant, so it's practical to take the supply chain management.
That's a good tip. And I just want to go back to actually, because you actually were in a 2-year program, which was the Global Business Management Program, which automatically provided you with the work permit for 3 years. Is that correct?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to Louise, because maybe you could comment on your pathway as well, because you did, I believe it's supply chain management and business analysis.
Exactly. So I'm gonna be honest. My first option was business analysis, and they have this opening on supply chain management, and I found that that would be a great opportunity for me. As I mentioned before, supply chain management relates to operations, and I am a consultant on that field, so it embraces everything I need on that kind of knowledge, and it brought a lot of things to me. And my plan, as I brought family, my plan was to come here to understand if my family would want to stay before choosing a 2 years program. And as we as a family decided to stay in Canada, after 3 months, we made a meeting, a reunion at home, and okay, what's our next step? And we decided to stay, and that was the reason I got into business analysis, and it was the best decision I could have had, both for my education, because both were excellent programs, and for my next steps, my pathway. Right now, I'm applying to become a permanent resident, and having 2 programs really helped on that pathway, because right after graduating, even though there are lots of job opportunities, but the timing of the companies is not that fast. So you need to wait sometimes a month or 2 months for the company to decide to get you to have you on their company, and having only 1 year as a PGWP, maybe it's not enough. Mainly if you want a good job.
Now, Louise, you touched on something, and you were kind enough to send me your answers to your questions beforehand, which was wonderful. But I really want you to go back and talk about the timing, because when is a good time to apply? When you talk about timing, is it every company has a different year end, and so they're looking at when their hiring will happen. Could you just elaborate that a little bit more? Because I thought that was really interesting when I was looking at that. It's all based on the timing. So over to you, back to you.
Oh yeah, sure. When you graduate at first, there are some restrictions if you can do part-time or full-time jobs. The companies, they really are aware if you're an immigrant about that, or it is a risk to hire someone as a full-time and they only can work as a part-time. It's understandable, but for entry-level jobs, that may not be the case, because it's very quick and everything works so fast. But for senior jobs, senior level or management level jobs, and that's what you will be searching for as graduates. If you want to apply to, for instance, in my case, I had to have that because of my wife, so she could have her work permit. It is a very important position in the company already. So, for instance, the company I work for right now, the process from knowing them to making the first interview to getting to starting working, it took me 3 months. So it's really slow, and there were other positions that I applied in the meanwhile, and all of them I really needed to wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 month, 2 months to get any kind of reply, even if it was a negative one.
Okay. We do have a question for Ali. You've got a question. I see your hands raised, so go ahead.
Yes, please.
Oops. Go ahead, Ali. Sorry.
Okay, I had a question from Luis since he's done business analysis. I wanted to know, do you get to work like there is a placement, I think, for the second semester? How is that like? Because now I'm deciding between supply chain or business analysis or not doing anything. So how is the placement like? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question, Ali. But me and Adi, we were in that how can I say that we were in the middle of that the beginning of the COVID situation, and for us we were looking for placement, we were working on that, and on our cohort we didn't have it because of COVID. But I can see from the people that graduated now that they had it, and it seemed to me that it was very nice because having a placement, and I can see from my friends that they have co-op. Okay, I can see that it is really you're putting a foot into the market. You have experience in the Canadian market, and as I mentioned, I have a background as a consultant in Brazil, working in a global environment. And when I went to interviews, they looked at my resume, and they didn't even look at that. They said, "Oh, you worked for Mohawk. You made this part-time at Mohawk, right?" And they didn't even look for the companies I worked on Brazil, even though they were big, and it was a very nice job I had back there. Um, you need to have your experience here in Canada. It is really important. So make use of the placements or internships or co-ops or whatever you can have for to improve your position in the interviews, and they will look better at that.
Absolutely. That's great advice. And the program coordinator, Lisa Pegg, for business analysis, has a roster, a large roster of industries that are looking for the students to place them into placements. And it was really unfortunate with the COVID. We were at the time, it was March, and students were heading out in April or May in some cases for business analysis. And it was just too risky because we didn't know what was going on. And so what we did in that particular case that year is we aligned the learning outcomes, because there's a lot of project-based work in the business analysis. And that project-based work is always done at an incredible skill level and presentation level. And so we were confident that what had been taught in the program would be supportive for the student moving forward. But I can tell you, those placements, they're calling all the time to get a student placed. And so it is a program that has active placements and very good placements as well. So excellent question, Ali. Thank you very much for that. We're going to go on to Audie, because Audie, you had this opportunity too. And so where you go?
So my experience is quite unique. It's kind of different from everybody else. So when I joined the supply chain program, for the first 4 months, I didn't do any work. I was new to Canada. I was like, I need to enjoy myself, network with people, get to know what's going on, how things operate in Canada. And right after the first semester, Carol approaches 5 of us. It was Kramer, me, and 3 of my other colleagues. They gave us the opportunity to work with Hamilton Container Terminal with Hamilton Port Authority. At that time was HPA. Now it's HOPA. But that internship or that government granted project was, it was paid work. So we were kind of like student supply chain analysts working for that company while studying. So that gave us good industry experience to get, you know, our foot in the door and work with an actual company out there. Then right after that, for me, it was expediters. So expediters came to college. They came to the supply chain program, and I think it was Craig Becker and Lauren Rollo. She, both of them gave their introduction about expediters, what they do and how they operate, and you know how their company is good in the field, and et cetera, et cetera. And then I approached them directly after the session, and I asked them like, hey, do you hire students after they graduate or part-time? What is the process like? You know, who is the HR person? Anyone I can reach out to get more information on that? And the first thing they told me was they never hire part-time people because they don't see the value in hiring part-time people, just because they would rather put their efforts into making a person work full-time and have operations go end to end, which actually makes sense in the business. um, then later, after a couple of months, Lauren reaches out to me and she's like, hey, we have a position, part-time position open, are you interested in it? And right, just like that, they created a position for part-time. And I was so surprised, like the lengths that a company can go to when they see a value in something they haven't recognized yet. And once that was done, I took up the job. It was in Mississauga, so I was traveling back and forth from Hamilton to Mississauga. So it was pretty far when you don't have a car. So 3.5 hour journey, it's not too fun. Um, yeah, so then I started the BA program while working with expediters, and then I was going to do my internship with Expeditors for the BA program as a placement. And that way I transitioned from a part-time into a full-time role after graduating the BA program. So that was kind of like the pathway that was set for me. But that quite didn't work out because the co-op was not an option anymore because of COVID. And then they let me go because I was part-time, and which makes sense because why would they keep a part-time person on board? Um, but then I lost the job and I still graduated the program. And right after that, I moved in with my family back over here in Oakville. And they said, instead of sitting down, why don't you go and, you know, get a job outside part-time, even if it helps you in any way in the field that you want to work in. So I applied to Home Depot and they gave me the position of overnight freight associate. And that's how I started with Home Depot and, you know, freight. And throughout the streamline, my background, I could say, is in freight and in containers. Like Hamilton Container Terminal was a terminal in Hamilton Port. So that's the first one. Then Expediter is the freight forwarder. So they also deal with container modes. And then receiving freight, trailers that come in into the warehouse, and all of that kind of ties into the supply chain background aspect of my experience. And then right after, while I was working with Home Depot, I was like, this is not what I want to do in terms of career. So I kept applying, and I used my background experience as an opportunity to get a job in the market. And that's when my uncle, who was a client of Main Freight at the time, he suggested, why don't you reach out to them? They might not be hiring, but he knows that the company is growing and they always need people. So I've never seen ads. I never even knew of this company before until he mentioned it to me. Then I did a bit of research. I contacted a couple of people, networked with them, got to know a bit about the company, what they do, what are they looking for. And I told them that I'm looking for an opportunity, full-time opportunity. And they advised me that they recently hired 2 people. So they're not going to be hiring for the next, I don't know, 6 months. And the best part of that was 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, they came back to me saying that, hey, we have a position open full time. Are you interested in it? And it was a shocker because they said that they were not going to hire for the next 6 months and they never had a job posting. But then again, they did reach out. So you never know how things are going to work out unless you put your foot out there or ask for help. Never be afraid to ask for help. That's what I think.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Because, you know, I was a former hiring manager, and I would get hundreds of resumes coming across my desk, and I would read them, and then I would, you know, I would stack them. And sometimes that job, somebody leaves the position, and you're short, and all of a sudden it's just like, okay, who's on the top of my list? And then it was about the gentle reminders where they touched base with me. Like those, I may not have had a position with them at that time, but they still connected back to me and said, you know, Tracy, I'm just letting you know I'm still available. And if you have anything coming up, then please let me know. And sometimes that little phone call, it wasn't that they were bothering me, they were just gentle, providing a nudge, so to speak. They were nudging me. And sure enough, you know, I would have a scheduling crew come to me and say, you know what, this person, it can't do the work. Who can we bring in? And I hired a lot of freelance and contract individuals. So the nudges, but be professional about it. Connect with them. Don't be a pest, but be professional when you are approaching them. And it's just letting them know that you're still available, which is so important. How do you compete? This is Karina has a great question. How do you compete with MBA university graduates with a diploma certificate? How did you compete with all of that? Now, Louise, you have an MBA, right, from Brazil, but you said a lot of your Brazil work wasn't actually even accounted for. So when you were applying, it was about what you had done at Mohawk, that one, right? And so maybe
that's true.
Anybody elaborate on that? How did you compete? Or did you feel like you were competing? Maybe you didn't feel like you were competing.
Yeah, what I felt is, for sure, you're competing with so many people with so many backgrounds. You really need to show how you're adding value to the company, how you're adding value to what they really need. You don't, those who has, and I was in a bad position when I graduated, because as an international immigrant, I couldn't apply for senior level jobs because I didn't have Canadian experience enough. And I applied for entry level jobs because I needed a job, and they said, no, you don't have, you are too, how did they say that? You're too qualified. You're overqualified for this job. You're not gonna like it, so we're not gonna keep you. So I was in this limbo, right? And that was actually a challenge for me, in my perspective. So in the end, you don't need to think about if you're competing with someone with an MBA or a university degree. Actually, you should be the person that they need. You should relate to what the employer needs. And if you relate to that, they will not really look at if you're graduated at Harvard or at the college, or if you're even not graduated at all, because they need a person to fill in that gap that they have.
Yeah, it's really good advice. I know that I had graduated from university and then came to Mohawk because I wanted a job. And so that's one of the reasons why I took the program that I took, because I knew that I would get practical applied experience. And with that, I could take that to an employer and the employer would value that. There's been such a shift in how employers think about the hires today. And it is really about what you can bring to the job, how you can affect change, and how you will be able to effectively integrate yourself into the team, because it very much is a team environment as well. And it has shifted from more of an individualistic approach to hiring individuals to hiring how are you going to effectively work within our organization. And I think that you have to demonstrate those interpersonal skills and really, really elaborate on that and how you are going to be able to work, and use examples from your project-based work or any applied work that you may have had in projects working with industry, and bring that to the table and explain that to them so that they have a better picture of who you are as an individual. So that was an excellent point. Anybody else have any other questions before we move on?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Ali.
Okay, sorry for too many questions. Okay.
Okay.
So I wanted to know, how risky is it to actually land the job for the 1-year postgraduate work permit rather than studying 2 years and getting the 3 years of postgraduate work permit? Like,
Anybody want to jump in on that one?
I think
Sure.
you can answer that.
Yeah. Luis, do you want to do it or?
Yeah, no, I have this experience of myself. If I made only 1 year and had only 1 year as PGWP, I would jeopardize all the plan on staying here and everything else. I've seen that. Um, I've seen the experience of a common friend between me and Maria. Um, if depended, it depended on her. She's getting her permanent residence right now, but it's because her husband was working while she was studying, and then they had the time to get through the process. Um, it's really risky to make only one graduate 1 year. If your plan is to become an immigrant, become a permanent resident.
Yeah, it's not worth it. In my perspective, you might have 1 year as work permit, but landing the job that exact 1 year, you're not gonna get it. And I think it's a proven track record that nobody has ever done that. Right off the bat, you graduate, and like Kramer said, it's about the timing. So from the time you graduate till the time you get the approval of your work permit, there are certain restrictions that you have, and you cannot work, or like that 1 year you don't know how fast it's going to end. And like time just flies. So if you're shy, or even by a couple of days to a year of experience, you're not going to be able to apply for your PR or whatever. So it's kind of risky. I don't recommend it. But if you have other plans, then it's all on you then.
And
what
I
I just wanted to ask, what if you actually land the job, like someone actually offered to employ you right after you graduate? Would that still be risky?
Point me to the direction of that employer. I want to meet him or her. Like
Well,
I've never heard of that situation before, but that's a unique case. It's not impossible, but it's just, are you willing to take that risk with the government in terms of your work permit application and your PR application? Because there's certain deadlines you have to meet, and there's a time frame that you have to adhere by. So I don't recommend it, but
Yeah.
if you get the opportunity to do so, I mean, it's all your choice.
Yeah, and your question was, is it too risky? And when you're talking about risk, you're talking about something that may or may not happen, right? Yes, it is risky. You can do that. It can work out, and you can have this employer that wants you right away, but you don't know if you want to stay on that job for 1 year.
Yeah, so I want to add something. So yeah, it's risky, but you can. It's always better to have a plan B. We say, right. So actually, if you're taking another program, you're not losing anything. While waiting, you can have another job opportunity, and on the side, you can earn another certificate program, and it's additional credential for you. So you're not losing anything. Maybe you're losing money for tuition if you're thinking about that, but you can work for it, and you'll get a better opportunity if you do that pathway like we did.
I just want to also add, because there's a question. Thanks, Kristin, for that, because that was helpful. One of the Karen has asked about additional programs that complement an IBM. What I'll do is I will review all of that with you, because we're actually looking at personal development plans, and that's one of your first assignments that is due in a couple of weeks, and we're going to focus that on Friday. But I will send you the link to all the graduate programs that there could be something else there, even in healthcare, that you might be interested in to diversify. But the ones that I'm most familiar with are the business analytics, business analysis, supply chain management. There is the, I'm just going through my head with the programs that used to be under me. There is a cybersecurity. And let me tell you, they're hiring, especially with everything that's going on right now. So there's a cybersecurity, it comes out of engineering. There is also a number of health programs as well that you might want to consider as options. But we can further that on Friday in class and take a look at all of that. And there are pathway counselors and advisors that can help you with making those decisions. And so we can look at all of that. So thank you everyone for your tips on that, because it was leading right into my next question, which was part of the professional skills courses for students to have and create an independent or personal development plan. Starting off with Ashley, do you have a plan? Do you have a plan, like short goals, long range goals? What's your plan?
So with all that said, let me motivate some of the students right here. So I used to work in Walmart as a merchandise associate, and I worked there for 1.5 years. So after 1 year of my period over there, they have offered me a role as a department manager. So there you go. Like, even as a part-time employee, if you work somewhere, you give your full dedication, you get it. Like, it's one way or the other. So that's a little bit motivation right over there. So after my term over the MSA, I look forward to work with the city of Hamilton, to be frank, because I've been working with them closely, and I hope to, work and join with their team with the youth in Hamilton. So that's my next plan, I would say, and let's see where it goes.
And are you doing anything, actually, because part of setting up a development plan is looking at milestones within that goal. What would be some of your milestones that you're thinking about as you're trying to achieve that goal to work with the city of Hamilton?
So currently, I've been working with the project manager, Williams and Jesse, as, promoting their posts and giving them ideas about the development for the youth and students in Hamilton. So I'd say after this, I would join their team as the crew or the assistant of project manager or something. And later, in the future, in the long run, I'd say my entire goal was to be an entrepreneur. That's why I was a graduate in global business management. So in 5 years, if you would ask me, I would set up my own business right here in the heart of Hamilton.
Right. And are you using Surge at all?
For sure. Like, I've been talking with Natalie, and we had
Yes.
some plans, and we had Dragon's Den in my first semester. So for sure, I'll keep in touch with her.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about Surge yesterday, and I'm connected with Surge to bring them in to talk to the students, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs in this class. And so we want to help build out their ideas and their concepts and know that they have supports in looking at those opportunities. So thanks, Ashley.
Not a problem.
Chrislyn, do you have a plan?
Of course, we all have a plan. Yeah. So my ultimate plan, actually, because I'm not a permanent resident yet here in Canada, so is to take that, to get that PR. And to be able to get that PR, I need to earn a Canadian experience, so a job here in Canada. So I'm currently looking for a career opportunity because I just recently graduated. Actually, later after this meeting, I have a job interview. So please pray for me. Okay, so that's my first one. And yeah, and also our professors have been so helpful, even after graduation. They're still emailing us, sending us some job opportunities, and encouraging us to take some supply chain designation certifications. And yeah, I'm very thankful for that, and I'm currently looking on like how to apply for that certifications, which will be helpful for my goals.
You nailed it with your comment about the professor sending you job opportunities. But how that works is the more we can get to know you, the more we know about what your passion is, what you're most interested in, is and I see the guys shaking their heads, the more we can help you. And so it's so important for you to build that connection with your professors and have those conversations. And as I mentioned yesterday in class, my very first day when I walked into Mohawk for my interview for my program is that I told them what I wanted to do, and I told them I wanted to teach in post-secondary, and they kept it in the back of their minds. And I'll have to tell you that on my very first day when I became a permanent full-time employee at Mohawk College, the gentleman that interviewed me came to me with a piece of paper and he said, Tracy, this was your interview when you became a student. And right on here, it says to be a professor at Mohawk College. And so he had kept that for all those years and then presented it to me almost like we did it, because that's what it's about. It's about us working with you and making it happen. So I'm so glad that you're still getting those job opportunities being sent to you, because that is really, let us know. Just have that conversation with us. Even if it's just we have our office hours, but even outside of our office hours, just send us an invite to have a conversation with you. So I think that's so important. I wanted to move on to another question, because I kind of figured that Louise and Audie probably have plans, but it is really important to plan it out and to do the kind of the 3-year plan and then maybe a 5-year plan. 10 years is a little hard because life changes so much, but it is important to do the 3 and 5 year, which is so important. And thank you, Ashley, for sharing that experience and knowing where you want to go. And how important, I guess my question is, and I didn't put this on my list, but how important is corporate culture when you are investigating places that you want to work for? How much research do you do into that company to see whether it's going to be a good fit for you? Because I think a lot of us think, okay, we'll get that first job, but is it really going to be the best job for me? Are the corporate values and the beliefs within that organization aligning to who I am as an individual? So we're gonna backtrack. We'll start at the bottom. We'll go with Audie this time.
So yes, research, it does play a lot. I did a whole bunch of researches for the companies that I applied to, because when I did my job search, I did not just go on Indeed or LinkedIn and randomly easy apply for any jobs. I did not do any of that. I had a mentor who helped me and guided me through the process of finding a job here in Canada. So he suggested pick out 5 companies that I would want to work for, see how I would create value, and where is the gap that they would actually need my help. So that way I picked up 5 companies, saw that, okay, this is something that I'm interested in doing. And for that, I had to sit down, and it took me quite a while. For each company, I spent at least a good amount, like maybe 6 hours per company, to see like who works there, who can I connect with, who have similar backgrounds, or like what is something that could connect the two of us together. Would it be a good fit or not? Is the part of the culture something that I'm interested in doing? So with Mainfreight, when I saw the company's culture and the philosophies that they have, the 3 pillars that we do have, I felt like this is the place I need to be. And it was like, it's a perfect fit. Like, that's who I am as a person. Like, this company does not have the standard, mission, vision, and all of those statements, where it's like textbook material. It's just like, do not treat your brothers and sisters rashly, or treat them with respect, things like that. Have lunch together. Those are kind of like one of our pillars. So that, it's not too straightforward. The culture of the company plays a very important role in where you see yourself in the next 3, 5, 7 years. So that also does play a small portion in your plan for the future.
Wonderful, great advice. Louise.
Yeah, researching about the companies I applied. Actually, it was something I learned here. I learned with Carol, with Lisa, and the other professors. And for sure, when you search for the company's vision, mission, or culture, the access you have is mostly on their website or on their LinkedIn profile. And for sure, they're not going to put the bad part of the company there, but you can see if they fit to your beliefs already. As Eddie said, get in touch with someone who works there, get in touch with people that knows the company culture. It makes all the difference. It's hard. It's really hard. You spend a lot of time. It is a full-time job if you search for jobs like that, but it pays off, right, Adi? Because you apply for the companies that you believe you're gonna add value. Uh, I'm gonna say I easy applied a lot on LinkedIn, and it never became anything. I never got an answer from all those easy applies. It really doesn't work if you don't um, get in touch with someone from the company. If you don't get in touch, or you don't get their attention, or if you don't fit to what they really need. So you need to be aware of that. In my case, um, I know that's not the question, but um, and the networking part makes a lot of difference. And I'm not talking about the network sessions or network events or this kind of networks. It worked a lot for Adi, but from my perspective, having being part of a community, it doesn't matter if it's a community from your country or your religion or the sports you like or whatever. Being part of a community is the best way to make this networking, to knowing people that works on those companies that you may look forward to working on. So I think that's the point. Knowing people that work on those companies make a lot of difference.
There's a question before we go on to Chrislyn. There's a question here in the chat, and it's an excellent question. It says, how to apply and search for jobs relating to our capabilities when we do not have any references or someone to guide us or are in our initial stage of networking? It's an excellent question because I know that students will always come to us for referencing for us. And it's often hard because if I haven't had those great conversations with you, it makes it really difficult for me to be able to reference you. So anybody want to jump in before we move on to Chrislyn with this question that we were answering about corporate culture? Anybody want to answer that question about how did you get the references?
Sure. I don't mind stepping in for that one. Um, the point for this one is the initial stage is to ask for help. Okay, so if you do not ask or don't show that you're interested in doing something, so say for example, Carol was my go-to person in the supply chain program. So any question I had regarding the industry, class activities, even if it was personal, she would always be there to assist, help, guide, advise. So those kind of relationships, once you over a period of time, they start to build and develop, and you build that connection. So the same way for one person, you do it with people from the industry or people from companies that you want to work with. That way you start to build those fine lines of connections, where you're not too eager to ask them like, hey, I need a job right now, or hey, I'm actually looking forward to connecting with you and getting to know you as a person and what you do on a day-to-day basis. So um, once you get past the initial step, then it's smooth water because that person knows you. You've introduced yourself. You've told them your objectives, what you want out of this meeting or this connection, things like that. Um, but yeah, I hope that answers your question. Like, the reference portion is not a very difficult task because I know for sure that if you connect with your professors, they're your first go-to people to actually give you references. And our professors are not just any people; they're industry professionals as well. They have had prior experience working with companies before they can actually teach. So I would recommend like Carol's like one top 100 most influential people in supply chain field. Getting a reference from her is like outstanding. So why wouldn't you want to, approach them in the first place? So
Yeah.
those are kind of some of the questions you need to think about.
I believe that me and Adi, we are on the mostly on always. We are always together, right, Adi? Even though we live apart and we have different pathways, And I think it's exactly like him. But I'm gonna add up. You're not gonna just ask for help. You're gonna provide help too. We were when there was a volunteering opportunity on supply chain management for the port. We were the first ones to say, "Hey, we are here. We can help." During the classes, even though they were not um, presential, we were the ones who made questions, and we were the ones who were there to help other students. So um, not only the professors, but the students beside you, they may have that contact that you may need. How many job opportunities I went through because I had Adi's contact, because Carol remembered me, or because Lisa remembered me, or any other professors. For sure, it's not every opportunity that you will be able to go there and be the person who will be hired. But how many cases were there, Adi, that we can mention that I said, "Oh, Adi, I remembered you. There is this job position for you," or the other way around too, because
Yeah,
sometimes.
like it's insane, the number of opportunities you get from the people you know directly. Your classmates are your go-to people because from their experiences, once they graduate, they land their first job, they know people in the industry, they have gone through the process that you're going through right now. And once I landed my first job, that's the time when I started helping everybody else out, because then I knew that my classmates were looking for opportunities, and I was like, okay, because I had people, recruiters, and people in the industry approach me and give me job offers right off the bat after I have a full-time job, and that's when I send them to all my colleagues like Krema and all the people from my supply chain field, whatever is relevant, whoever has been networking with me and connecting with me. They all have applied for all the job postings I've sent them, and I'm pretty sure they must have got interviews with it as well.
That's excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay. Um, Chrislyn, thank you guys. We're going to go over to corporate culture. You're on the job hunt right now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're doing your research. I can well imagine you're doing research for this. So tell us, what are you looking for within a company when you're looking at corporate culture?
So yeah, I'm same with Louise. I'm looking for the vision and mission, and also I'm checking reviews on the online platforms. So there are many there are many websites where you can see what's going on, like just a overview of what's going on in the company. Actually, we're not sure if that's true or not. If it's that's just a hater of the company or a supporter, but it's nice to research about them. And yeah, and also, actually, it's not just about the corporate culture, it's also about us within ourselves. It's about how we adapt to that company. If we want to work for them, we should know how to get along with them without compromising also the business ethics and standards that we're setting. Yeah, I think that's
Good advice. And Ashi, corporate culture. You're working at Mohawk College right now, and you're thinking about the city of Hamilton. What is it about those two organizations that draws you to them?
Yep. I'd say for me, passion is always important. You must be happy what you're doing. So I told everyone that, I had the opportunity in Walmart to become the department manager, but I always followed my passion because I've been advocating students for past 5 years, even back in my college in India. So it's in my blood, like, advocating for students, fighting for their rights. So MSA was the perfect place for me. And, from my second semester, I was VP internal. I learned about the MSA, learned a lot of things, met amazing people. So I've decided that, this is my passion. And when I said about City of Hamilton, that's what they do as well. They work for the youth, building youth to create job opportunities. So I want to be a part of it as well. So passion brought me here.
Wonderful. That's great. And I want to go back to Audie and Luis. You worked on a research project with the Hamilton Container Terminal, and you got paid for it. And it was I don't know if it was extracurricular or whether it was just whether Carol built it into your program, but I remember that grant because I was helping Carol when we applied for those grants. That was likely your first job in working on a project in your industry. Is that correct? You guys want to comment on that?
Yes, it was. I was blessed with the perfect team for the project. It was me, Luis, Abhishek Tyagi, Caitlin, and Rain Zhao Yu. So 5 of us got this awesome opportunity to help this company build business in the Hamilton region. So the basis of that project was to bring in more business into Hamilton Port instead of sending it to Toronto. So the way the logistics works in Canada is that they don't have terminals in Hamilton Port. So the closest one is in Toronto, which is CN or CP. But to go there and come back to Hamilton to deliver products to customers in Niagara region or Hamilton region it's just too expensive because you're going to pay for rail all the way to Toronto and then truck it back. It does not make sense. So they wanted to implement a new railway system that connects CNCP in Toronto to Hamilton Oshawa Port. And that way we find out where the customers are located, where the business is coming from, how are we going to route this. We had to literally do surveys, cold calls. It was quite the experience for a 4-month project. And I think we did an amazing job because they're actually using that right now in their terminal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just wanted to comment on that I had spoken to the students the other day, and I'm thinking about bringing Sanjeev into the class to talk to them about, his business, because he came from Egypt and he settled here. And one of the first doors he knocked on was Mohawk College, and looking for the students to help him with his business. So I remember that very clearly. So I'm going to try to connect with Sanjeev to bring him and talk about that experience. So
they will probably need more help coming soon.
He probably will. Yes, for sure.
Yes, they have a new service from Montreal to Hamilton and Hamilton to Montreal. So I think their business is growing. And for those who are looking for opportunities, there's your next company to apply for.
Yeah, for sure, because they're expanding. I wanted to see if there's a couple of questions in the chat that I just want to cover. One is directed to Ashley with MSA. How do you get involved? And then a question about how am I able to assist Mohawk College once I finish my course? Well, Lindsay's online here. She's always looking for speakers and students, graduates to be a part of something. There's also, I think you're working on an international alumni group as well. Lindsay, do you want to talk about that a little bit, about how you can further build out your association to Mohawk College once you graduate?
Sure, I'd love to talk about alumni a little bit more. So some of the quick and easy ways to kind of stay connected with the college. Once you graduate, keep your information updated with us. By that, I mean like your email address, your mailing address, stuff like that, because we're always sending information out. For example, we do also get job postings as well. So we share those with grads and stuff. So that's kind of the quick and easy way. It's really no time needed there. Other things is volunteering when we put calls out for guest speakers. So such as panelists. We do other networking events where it might be like a speed networking type session and stuff like that. So those are usually just kind of 1 to 2 hours of your time, kind of come in, meet with some students, kind of interact that way. We will be launching, fingers crossed in the fall, I'm going to be launching a young alumni group. So it's going to run kind of, so we have the Alumni Council who really kind of direct and they kind of act like your MSA. So they give us guidance as to what the membership is looking for and such. So we're going to do an arm off of that as a young alumni. So any recent grads. So that means anyone who's graduated up to 10 years out. And this group is really going to guide kind of what our recent grads are looking for. So I'm going to be recruiting very soon some students as well as recent grads to sit on this committee to really help drive, okay, what do we need to be doing to help support all of our graduates as they just as they graduate the college and such. So whether it's more networking opportunities or career stuff, or is it just we're just looking for places to connect and regroup and chat amongst each other and just kind of network within alumni that way. So we're really going to be looking for some input that way, as well as we're always just trying to build up where our alumni are. So share your stories back to us, because we can't reach out and ask for help if we don't know where you are. Like, it's always easier if I can do like that one-on-one kind of ask out. So we're always writing up stories, publishing stuff that way and stuff. So there's a lot of ways, and we run a slew of events. So everything from networking to trivia nights. So we've been doing monthly trivia nights since COVID hit and stuff like that. So yeah, so there's lots and lots of ways to kind of stay connected.
Lindsay, how strong is the alumni network? How many people do you have in the alumni network?
Yep. So with our graduating class that just graduated, well, I guess 2 weeks ago now, we're up to 134,000. So that's a very strong number, and that's living alumni. The college is still very, very young in terms of an institution itself. So yeah, so we have 134,000, and it's fantastic. This past year, we've seen lots more engagement through virtual events and stuff. So storytelling and stuff like that.
Wonderful. Okay, so there you go. There's over 100,000 people that at some point you may cross their paths. The other thing you want to make sure is that you show your affiliation. You tell people that you are currently studying at Mohawk College. You tell people that on your LinkedIn that you're studying at Mohawk College, and you make that connection there. Because I'm going to tell you, the majority of the success with my students in the past are those that had gone to Mohawk College and want to hire a Mohawk grad. So it's important that a lot of them move up through the manager ranks, that you actually really do promote that. So that's one tip. So we're gonna finish off today's session with one tip from each of the speakers. What advice? Now this is hard because a lot of you have just graduated, but what advice would you give to a student? And these students are basically, they're graduating out of this program in December. So what advice could you give them? Anything at all? Away we go. Ashi.
I'd say never quit and believe in yourself, because that's what drives you to success. And just keep putting in your effort and the results will follow you. That's the only tip I want to give you guys. And that worked for me as well. So, it would work for you guys as well. All the best.
Chrislyn, thank you, Audie, or Ashley. Chrislyn.
Okay, so I think my advice for you guys is to take advantage of this global business management program, because this program teaches you about like almost every division of the business industry, right? So it's training you like to be a jack of all trades. And yeah, so from there you can assess which area could be your specialty, and evaluate if you want to advance that area, and from there you can make a goal about that.
Thank you. And Louise?
I think I'm going to repeat myself, but I'm not going to repeat what Chris and Ashik said. Be there for the others, help others, volunteer. That's the best way to be reminded and to be part of the community. And I think there are lots of opportunities to do that at Mohawk.
Thank you. And Audie?
My advice is the most general one, and I cannot stress this enough, is network. That is the most important thing to do here in Canada, because we come from different backgrounds and nobody knows who we are, what we do, what we offer, and what we bring to the table. So get yourself out there. Don't be afraid to step into the spotlight once in a while, or if you get the chance every single time. Try and get in touch with as many people as you can, no matter how busy they are. You can always send a LinkedIn request, add a note, put in a small, or send them an email, or give them a call if you have their details. Like there's no harm in asking them for any help whatsoever.
We have a question. Anita, what are you thinking?
Sorry, it's not related. It's just something about the resume. I just wanted to know, is there a standard way of writing resume in Canada? Because I've stayed in the UK for a very long time, and we have a way we write our resume and our CV. So I just wanted to know, is there a specific format, is there a specific template or structure for writing a CV and resume in Canada? Thank you.
Great question. I know that I can answer that when we do the resume portion in your class, but Lindsay, do you have any comments about that?
Sure. Actually, just a few weeks ago, well, at the beginning of June, I hosted a webinar on resume and cover letter writing. It was recorded, so I will share that with Tracy, and we can share it out to all of you to kind of have a look at that. But yeah, I would say there is kind of a format. There's a couple of different variations and stuff. The best is to just kind of quick tips is to get that information that's relevant to the current job that you're applying to towards the top of the resume. Just so that as that hiring manager or HR department, you don't have to kind of go like looking through it all. You just want it kind of at the top, kind of front and center there. But I'll definitely share that webinar recording with everyone.
Thanks, Lindsay. That's great. And you know what, another tip that I always give my students is save your course outlines, because there's some gem statements in those course outlines of your learning outcomes, and you could work those statements right into your resume. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to analyze the language within those course outlines and how you're going to put that to use and really market that out to the employer. So we'll take a look at that. I see that, Audie, you've added your LinkedIn network, which is great. I'm going to create a spreadsheet for all students with the LinkedIns, hopefully with our LinkedIns from our panelists today. And then I want to add everyone's LinkedIn into that sheet. And one thing that somebody told me, and she was a very wise recruiter, a national recruiter, she said, you want to keep that network spreadsheet and you want those names and you want to remember them in one column. You're going to put what I'm going to remember them by. Because if your paths ever cross, you can say, oh, I remember when you spoke at the Meet the Grads, or I remember when we worked on this project, or when we worked, or when we went to a special association. That way you're starting the conversation, and it's so important. So we're going to start that spreadsheet so everybody has it, because I want to be part of your network as well, right? And Lindsay, obviously with Alumni, Chrislyn and Louise and Ashley and Audie, we all want to be a part of your network. So we want to work towards that, and so we can build it like huge, okay? Anita, do you have another question?
Yes, I do. Sorry, I have many questions.
That's okay.
So in terms of mentor, because I remember, is it Adi? You mentioned something, yeah, you mentioned something about mentorship. How do we get a mentor? Who do we contact for a mentor? Yeah, that's
Yep.
my only question. Who do we?
That's an awesome question. In terms of mentors, he technically was like a mentor to me personally. You can find mentors who are professionals in the industry. You can reach out to them and ask them just basic questions about the industry or what they do, and you can always be open to them. Be completely transparent about your intentions. That's what I did. I told him, hey, I'm new to the industry. I don't have any experience whatsoever. I want to develop my skills. I need to know what is the best way possible to get my name out there in the industry so people start noticing. Once they start recognizing you, people start to approach you, and your name is on the top of the list every single time, no matter where you go. Mentors, they guide you in a way that is going to put you in that position. It might not be 1 month, it might not be 2 months, but guaranteed after 6 months, it will definitely flourish. It depends on how much work you put in. So like he literally sat me down and made me do a ton of research, broke down my LinkedIn profile. He sat with me, did my resume. My resume had to be updated like 10 times from 10 different people, 10 different recruiters. based off of different qualities, different job postings. So no one resume fits all job postings. So you always have to keep updating it, tweaking it to every job posting. Mentors guide you in that perspective. They tell you, and they tell you who to reach out to. So if, say, you're interested in a company and you don't know anybody there, but your mentor knows somebody there, they can always refer you. And that's how you get your first connection. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you very much. I have one more question. I spoke with Tracy about this before, but I would like to ask it again just to get anyone's point of view. I asked if you're from a different, if you had a different background. For example, I studied engineering for the past 7 years, and I'm trying to progress to business. How am I going to sell myself? How am I going to market myself in the business industry? How am I going to write my CV, or how am I going to write my resume? How do I like connect them? How do I create a relationship between both fields?
I can jump into that. My graduation, I'm an architect, and I work mostly with management right now, project management, business analysis, everything related to management. So it is not that big leap you need to do to go from engineering to management or administration. So what you really need to look for is for management or administration positions in factories, in companies that work with engineering. So you're not applying for engineering positions, but they really are looking forward to engineers to make part of the administration, because engineers understand their business. So that's a pathway.
Something else I would add to, Anita, is there is a professional engineering society, and one of my colleagues who I mentioned to you yesterday, that I'm going to connect with you, she just recently accepted a vice position on that committee. And one of the things I was thinking about is I'm sure there's a student division where students can network within that association. So I'm going to reach out to her and talk to her about that, because I know we have a lot of engineering students in this program, graduates, and that's one way you can join that association and start networking with other engineers who are likely more in business management positions as well. So we'll make those arrangements for you for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
No problem. One more question. It's from Mahal. It's which is the best province in terms of having a good business, good standard of living and expenses? Has anybody ever here ventured out to another province in Canada?
No, not that I've done that, but I mean, it's based on where you want to set up business, where the opportunity is better. You can't just decide that, hey, I'm going to move to Nova Scotia because I can start up my business there, but cost of living is too high. Like, there's always going to be pros and cons to wherever you're going to go. But if you're thinking from a business perspective, you need to see what's the best interest for the business and not for your personal life, because if your business flourishes, therefore your personal life can flourish as well.
Right. Very true.
But
and if you want to go to Quebec, learn French.
Yeah, if you want to move to Quebec, Montreal, you got to learn French. It entirely depends on where you want to go. Though the more north you go, the more expensive it gets, because it's more difficult to get products and services out there. It's cold throughout the year. Do you really want to move up there? That's the bigger question. But yeah, as far as businesses are concerned, I think Southern Ontario or Vancouver, or somewhere on the outskirts or central locations are a better fit, and cost of living is not that high also. Depends on your kind of occupation.
That's, you raised a really good point about the provinces. I think I will cover a little bit about that. I've interviewed right up into the north, into Whitehorse for a management job. And they traveled me up there to have that experience, to see whether or not it would be a good fit for me. So I think that's a really good thing to look at as well. And because you come to Canada, you know Southern Ontario, or the horseshoe right now, as we call it. But it would be good to study Canada and to see where those jobs are. And a lot of it is market driven, but it also is lifestyle driven. As Canadians, a lot of my friends are leaving Ontario to set up their life in the East Coast. They want a different lifestyle. And so some of them are going without even having a job, and they're just deciding to go. So Canada is a big country. And so maybe I'll touch on that in part of your studies. But yeah, so this is going to be concluding. We've gone about 7 minutes over, but I really want to thank our panelists today. And Chrislyn, good luck in your interview today. And congratulations to Audie, because I think you just started a new job at Hamilton Health Sciences. Is that correct?
Me? No.
Who was it? There was another. Oh, actually, it was another panelist that I was going to bring on that just started, and it was sad that that he couldn't join us today. But it was somebody from the business analysis class who just got a job at Hamilton Health Sciences. But I want to thank you all and wish you all the very best in your careers. And it's been a phenomenal panel. I have loved your, you're just so authentic in your approach. And I'm hoping today that the students who joined us can take away the information that you've provided to them as guidance. And I think today's theme was to network and to get to know people, and which is so important. And that was the purpose of today's lesson for you. It's a early stages of you here at Mohawk College in Hamilton, and you're only basically 8 weeks in, and I really wanted to open that door to you. So I want to thank all of you. Some of you have put your links into the chat, which is wonderful, and I will help to develop that spreadsheet for you. Lindsay, any closing remarks at all?
Just again, thank you to our 4 grads that gave their time today to be here and for sharing your stories. And I look forward to our next event, which is next Friday, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's actually networking, isn't it?
Yes. So we'll be going over more details of the art of career networking.
Facilitator is phenomenal.
Yes.
I'm going to say she's going to knock it out of the park. I do want to remind all students that there is an assignment attached to this. It'll take you just a few minutes to fill out. It's worth 5%. If you haven't taken your selfie, take it now, or take a screen capture of the gallery view to put in. But again, I hope you found it worthwhile, and thank you. Great attendance. So proud of you guys. And I'm so pleased to have the opportunity to work with you this semester. So have a wonderful afternoon and evening in some cases. We'll see you all on Friday in class. So thank you so much.